tell you that being Māori is something no one can take away from you.
A 3-minute protest staged in 1979 echoes across the decades as a potent indictment of systemic racism and a lens through which to re-examine Aotearoa's national identity. The Haka Party Incident will be screening as a part of the Sydney Film Festival on the 10th and the 13th of June, 2 screenings on the 13th of June. Today, we have the opportunity to speak to Katie Wolfe, who so many credits, director's probably right at the top of it. Katie, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the For Your Reference podcast.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for talking to me today. Yeah, we're excited for the film to play in Sydney. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Before we actually get to the film, while I was doing some research in 2021 with the Auckland Theatre Company, I've actually never heard of Verbatim Theatre. It sounds like a very interesting, very cool for the performers as well as the audience. But I guess before we actually get to the film, maybe they are two sides of the same coin, but I would like to hear a little bit about the theatre piece, if that's okay.
Sure. So just for your listeners to understand that before there was a film, there was a play that I wrote, and it was a piece of verbatim theatre, which is documentary theatre. And I'd only really seen maybe 2 or 3 productions of it. So it's when the actors on stage and they're wearing earpieces and they're actually reenacting the real participants or speakers on stage. And it's just I found it a very compelling type of theatre. I absolutely loved it. And when I was given a chance I was doing a residency at the Auckland Theatre Company, and they said they wanted me to create a new work. I thought, no, I'm gonna create verbatim theatre because I just love to give it a go. Haka Party was the Haka Party incident was the subject I chose, and so that's how the play came about. Part of making verbatim theatre is that you actually, if you're interviewing people, if it is a contemporary, the contemporaries are still available to be interviewed. You film them so the actors can actually study their body movements. So I already had all the footage and all the interviews before leading into making the film.
And in an interview, you talked about like time and place is also very important for
Yes,
art as well, right?
yes. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think that was very much, God goodness, this piece was made through the pandemic. So
mm,
especially in New Zealand, we were in a lot of lockdowns in Auckland. So there was this moment where we were just about to launch the play, and then of course we went into lockdown, and then it got delayed for a year. And in that time, there was so much development in the piece. So I always wonder, that when we bring new pieces of work into the world, that all those circumstances around them feed into that. I'm very aware that the work is a product of time and place, and that it's always the right time as well. Like we had sometimes we have very little control over these things.
and yeah, 2020 really put us through it, man. Like
I know, right, right. I know.
it was
And
a
then into
very
21 as well.
exactly. It was a very
Yeah.
calcifying time, but I think it was also a
Yeah.
time to mobilize as well. And in regards to the actual documentary, the film, the Haka Party Incident, I don't think it's a surprise given the nature of your work. You don't necessarily shy away from hard to talk about topics, and it feels like it's very important for you. Um, what was it like making the Haka Party incident specifically? Because New Zealand is very much the benchmark for a lot of countries, but there's also this pendulum, this weird sort of pendulum that's going on, like a push and pull,
Mm.
is the current sort of climate that Aotearoa is in right now. What was it like, I guess, making the film, or are you not even conscious of what the chatter might be? You're just here to tell that story.
Look, you're absolutely right. I do really gravitate towards hard stories.
Let's do it.
Uh,
Let's pull up
Yeah,
a chair. Let's
I just sort of, and this idea that Aotearoa is a benchmark in terms of our race relations. And but it doesn't mean that we don't have the issues there.
Mhm.
Um, but we have this thing in our country, which is the Treaty of Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, which is this, I guess, our benchmark about the striving for partnership between Māori and Pākehā.
Mhm.
So, and it is incredibly, it is, God, gosh, I have to say that when I started making the Haka Party incident, which was back in 2017,
Mhm.
and was delayed, that the politics have just become more and more interesting in our country. It just seems really, really lively. The play for me is, and I should say the film for me, and the play, of course, was very much about this intersection between Māori and Pākehā, where we actually meet, and trying to talk about those issues,
Mhm.
trying to, through my work, allow people to go, oh, yeah, I've wondered about that stuff, but I didn't know how to talk about it. And
Yeah.
seeing other people talk about it, other people finding language around it, it makes people feel safer to talk about those things, I think.
Mhm.
Um, so and I guess we are, yeah, we're in Aotearoa right now. There definitely is a swing back to much more conservative politics.
Mhm.
But gosh, there's so much energy around, and that I think it's still really healthy. I'm really surprised as well, though, that the Haka Party, which when I started making it, it was very much a hidden history. There's other thing
Mm.
that we do have. I think that's very much relevant in Australia as well, that there's histories that just
Talk
get
about it. Over 60% said no, and I move accordingly.
yeah, right. Yeah. And it's just these things just get pushed aside. And gosh, we're really good at forgetting.
Yeah.
I call it this willful forgetting that we just go, I don't want to know about, I don't want to know
Oh,
about. I just
Katie, we're
want
going to start a revolution because what I'm saying right now is like, because people don't care until it happens to them, but then it's too late. And we
yes.
need to be angry and we need to channel that anger. I feel like it's very important to not get numb to things, but we also
Yeah.
need to care more. I think we need to care even if it doesn't affect us. And I think that's part of what we're seeing, in Western countries, but in Aotearoa and as well as
Yeah.
so-called Australia as well. And this comes to the archival footage, which I guess it makes sense, but I didn't really think about how expensive archival footage
Oh,
might be, and
don't even talk to me about that. It's so expensive. That was the really, because it was like
especially because it's so important to have history as
yeah.
well.
And it's all owned, like a lot of the New Zealand archive was sold to Getty. So you're actually, which is an American company, you're actually, actually licensing off this huge sort of corporation of Getty's, which I always feel,
Interesting.
it just
There's a
makes
whole
it feels really
conversation.
wrong,
That's a whole
and
documentary.
yeah, that's another whole documentary.
In regards to the archival footage, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm comfortable with it, but we've definitely seen on a global scale instances of very harmful blackface, yellowface. This was
Mm,
actually, and I'm an Australian-born Tongan,
mm,
but this is actually the first time I've seen broadcast television savage portrayal of Maori people, like obviously in a broader scale of like Native Americans, but this is actually the first time I saw it. And not to say that I'm used to the other, racist depictions, but I was very uncomfortable. I guess also
yeah,
because,
yeah,
Aotearoa is that benchmark of like, that's where most of our people are, Maori, like Pacific Islander people.
mm,
And you feel like a sort of some vestige of hope, right?
yeah,
And there was another archival piece of, I think it was some sort of like discussion forum where you
yes,
had a Palangi man and he was like, oh, well, it's not just a problem. You just need to assimilate. In
yeah,
Aotearoa, he's saying this. You just
yeah.
need to assimilate. You need to educate yourself more. If we can invent a time machine so I can go and punch someone, like,
You wanted to go. I know that from. I'm sure
just
that from the 1980s. I think he's passed now, so he's okay. But goodness gracious, that guy. Sometimes the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree. I
yeah.
still do hear those
Oh,
attitudes. It's
absolutely.
kind of really paternalistic, these sort of colonial attitudes that we, arrived here and we're just kind of, we're going to civilize these people, we're going to make, we're better than them and we're going to bring them up into the world. That idea that we were that I guess it's most almost Darwinian, and I guess in that sense that the settlers here in Aotearoa and that were coming into Australia did have a sense that they were better, that they were a superior type of person.
Mhm.
And I do find that attitude. I still see it. I still see it today. It's very
It's
ingrained
wrapped
in
up
that.
in a well-meaning sort
Yeah,
of package, but the messages of like, oh, you're so well spoken, like you're
yeah,
so articulate, use three-syllable words, and it's like,
yeah.
our three-syllable word, your forefathers. I didn't necessarily have this question on the cards, but I guess just while we've been chatting, film festivals are really cool. Like my partner is Kenyan, so we're very black and brown, and our
Yeah.
podcast is very much centered on our experiences. But film festivals or just film in general is very white. Like a lot of audiences, and it's just pretty cool. Like just they'll go watch any sort of topic and any sort of documentary. I guess, do you, or is that not even a concern for you in regards to they'll go and watch a documentary, but I guess, is there any sort of hope you might have that it actually pierces through, even in a small sort of way of like, oh, actually,
to
maybe
get
there
to,
are
to
some
get a more
thoughts.
diverse audience, you mean like as a white audience? Do you mean, is
Well,
that
I
what you
think it's
mean?
more like I feel like a lot of people will go and watch documentaries, they'll watch films at film festivals, but do
Yep.
you have a hope that that might plant a seed in some
Oh
sort?
yeah, I know what you're saying. Hopefully, or that I really hope that we're back at home. The film is going to be streamed really, really soon. And I know that, and it's also is going to be playing on our Whakaata Māori, which is really, that's really where I really want it to sit. So it's my hope that then I think that's where we reach a wider audience.
Mhm.
And I know I'm really aware of that as a filmmaker. Like how often, I go because I love movies, obviously, being a filmmaker, but I often have everything, and I go to the cinema and like I might be the only person, in the cinema, like, and you're going, well, this is my industry. This is like,
Yeah.
so we're really aware as filmmakers that yes, cinema is really difficult. Film festivals are fabulous, like we love attending film festivals and your work going out into the world and having that cultural exchange. Just before Sydney, I'll be up at Imaginative in Toronto,
Oh,
which is
nice.
an incredible film festival. Um, but I do hope that when the Haka Party gets to go out on those streaming platforms, that's when it really finds its audience.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating doing the play. We toured the play nationally, and we always sold out. So it was one of these things that even I was really, I was really intrigued by that because racism is hard to market, like you never sort of put on your poster, come and see this wonderful piece about racism.
Yeah.
It doesn't attract an audience. But with Haka Party, I think there's a lot of word of mouth that involved that people went along and saw it and they had that experience of going, I think I can actually start to contextualize some of the things it's talking about in my life. I think that, I really advise, I could recommend it to you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because I think it's contained as well. It is a microcosm,
it's a
but I
total
think people
microcosm.
people come
Yeah.
in thinking it's this, and then it becomes a broader sort of thought piece, I guess,
Yeah.
if you will.
Mm.
And yeah, marketing racism. But
It's
I
like,
think, like, unfortunately, we don't have the time. But I think this general conversation of like change and seeing people for people is that uncomfortability, right? And
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
people try and shift that I'm uncomfortable, it's your fault. And it's like, no, actually, this is a time for learning. And we
yes,
like
yep.
Tongan word, like with Tokoni, like we're gonna come together
What is the word?
and
Te kone.
Tokoni, yeah.
Nakoni, yeah.
But I want to thank you so much for your time. All
You're
the best
welcome.
for Imaginative. Like that's just a gorgeous. I can only imagine we'll be following along your journey. And
Thank
also when
you.
you come to the Sydney Film
Yeah.
Festival. But I want to thank you so much for your time and wrap up with our final question. We finish our reviews with a recommendation. So, what would you pair with the Haka Party incident as a double feature? It can be a documentary. It can be a film. It doesn't need to be Sydney Film Festival. It can be anything.
I would probably put with the Haka Party Incident, this is my favorite film of all time, and I feel very sort of like audacious to suggest it, but I would put it next to Meta, the great Meta, Maori filmmaker, and her film Patu, which is about the Springbok tour, right? So, and there's a little bit of Patu that's in Haka Party Incident, but it's sort of like you could watch the Haka Party Incident straight into Patu, and it's this incredibly sort of amazing, rich 5 years of Aotearoa's history, 78 to about 83, where just so much was going on. That would be a great double feature.
I love that. It's all tapestry of the resistance
Yes,
and the
correct.
power and also the joy
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Katie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.